Morning, my name's James Hughes, Chief Market Analyst here at Scope Markets, and this is your daily briefing on Wednesday, the 17th of June. The International Monetary Fund are expected to slash their economic forecasts after it predicted the global economy will contract by 3% in April. The IMF now thinks that the global economy will contract by much more than they initially forecast, and stated that forecasts were much worse than originally had been predicted. The IMF stated that the Great Lockdown would be unlike anything the world has ever seen. Despite the gloomy forecast, stocks in the US rose as they cheered the biggest gain on record in US retail sales after a jump to 17.7% in May after contracting by 14.7% in April. However, the fear of a second wave of the virus in some states and in China is quite rightly causing a degree of concern. The second wave fears are also having a knock-on effect on the oil price, with investors worried about the travel industry being hit by further restrictions, meaning a longer slump in demand for aviation fuel. Although if a second spike in infections was seen more widely, it is expected that many governments would handle any kind of restrictions differently. Throughout Wednesday's session, we will see inflation data out of Europe, which will follow on from the UK CPI reading already seen this morning. The UK inflation rate fell to 0.5% in May as most retailers were shut for business. Supermarkets were of course trading as normal, however a rise in food price was offset by a fall in clothing and footwear, as well as a continued depression in petrol prices. Focus for the rest of today's session will turn to Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, later this afternoon as he returns to his second day of testimony. Yesterday, he echoed his position from last week's FOMC, stating that the economy and jobs markets may well need longer to recover than initially thought. Today's continued testimony will bring about the chairman giving much more information about just how he sees the economy performing and what it will take to get economic recovery. And violent clashes between India and China on the remote Galwan Valley border in the Himalayas are something to keep an eye on today. Efforts are underway to diffuse the tensions between the two nations, but it is there nonetheless, so something that from a geopolitical point of view that traders must keep an eye on.